My sister's daughter smashed my son's birthday cake and said ugly cake for ugly boy. My mom laughed. Don't be so sensitive. I smiled, hugged my son, and left. That night I called the bank, closed the college fund for account number 4729 by 7 a.m. There were 94 missed calls, and my sister was banging on my door screaming, my son's birthday party was at 2 p.m. on Saturday, May 10th, 2025, in our townhouse in Aurora, Colorado. I remember because the grocery receipt was still on the counter, $63.41 for chips, juice boxes, candles, and the stupid dinosaur plates Miles had picked out himself. Miles was turning 8. He kept smoothing the front of his shirt like he wanted to press the excitement flat so it wouldn't spill. Dad, he whispered, is the cake coming out now? In 5 minutes, I said. We have to pretend we're civilized and sing first. He grinned. One of his front teeth was missing. It made him look like he was always halfway into a joke. The doorbell rang again. My mother walked in like she owned the air. Douglas, she said like my name was an inconvenience. We're here. Behind her was my sister, Tara, and Tara's daughter, Sophie, age 9, in a glittery dress that looked like it could cut glass. Tara kissed the air near my cheek. Happy birthday, Miles. Sophie didn't say anything. She just stared at the cake box on the kitchen table like it offended her. My mom's eyes went straight to the cake. Oh, you made it yourself? Yeah, I said. Miles wanted chocolate. Miles tugged my sleeve. Dad did the dinosaur. I had spent Friday night piping green frosting scales onto a lopsided T-Rex because my son asked me to. I'm an auditor, not a baker. I literally own a spreadsheet called miles_birthday_budget_2025.xlsx. The cake still looked homemade. It looked loved. Kids were already shouting in the living room. My neighbor Ben was trying to keep them from using the sofa as a trampoline. I lit the candles. Miles bounced on his toes. Okay. We gathered around, phones came out, my sister angled hers like she was filming content instead of a kid. Ready? I said. Miles nodded hard. We started singing. Halfway through the song, Sophie leaned in closer. Too close. I saw her fingers touch the edge of the cake board. I opened my mouth. Sophie? She shoved. Not a bump, not an accident, a full two-handed slam. The cake slid, hit the table edge, and folded in on itself like a collapsing building. Frosting smeared across the dinosaur face. One candle snapped and skittered onto the floor. Miles froze. His smile didn't just fade, it shut off. Sophie tilted her head and said loud enough for every kid and adult to hear, "Ugly cake for an ugly boy." There was a second of silence that felt like my body forgot how to breathe. Miles's hands went to his sides, tight fists. But he didn't cry. He just stared at the wreck like his brain was trying to understand how a birthday can break. My mother laughed. Not nervous laughter, real laughter. Oh my God, she said, wiping under her eye like she'd heard something clever. Doug, don't be so sensitive. She's a kid. Tara did that fake scolding thing. Sophie. That's not nice. But she didn't pull her away. She didn't apologize. She didn't look at Miles. She looked at me like, handle it. My mouth went dry. My hands went cold. My brain did what it always does when something goes sideways. It started counting. Kids. Adults. 5. Witnesses with phones. At least 3. My son's face. Blank. Like someone muted him. Miles whispered, so quiet I almost missed it. Dad, did I do something? That question made my vision narrow. I didn't scream. I didn't lecture. I didn't give Tara the big speech she expected so she could call me dramatic. I smiled. I knelt, put my arms around my son, and said into his hair, "No, you did nothing. You're perfect." Then I stood up, grabbed Miles's little backpack off the chair, and said calmly, "We're leaving." My mom blinked. "Leaving where?" "Home," I said, even though we were already in it. "Away from this." Tara's voice sharpened. "Doug, it's cake. Relax." I looked at her, then at Sophie, who was already smirking. Then I looked at my mother. She had that expression she always gets when she thinks she's won a social exchange. I didn't let her have it. I took Miles's hand. He didn't argue. He just went quiet and obedient in a way that made me feel sick. We walked out the front door while my mother called after me, "You're embarrassing yourself." I didn't turn around. I didn't scream. I did something else. That night, at 9:47 p.m., after Miles finally fell asleep holding his stuffed shark, I called the bank and said, "Close the college fund for account number 4729. People hear college fund and assume it was for my kid. It wasn't. It was for Sophie, and that fact is why my sister lost her mind by sunrise. I'm Doug, I'm 34, and I work as a senior auditor for a mid-sized firm in Denver. I'm the guy who finds missing money for a living. I spend my days asking questions like, why is this vendor paid twice? And where did this $8,200 go? And why is your CFO lying to my face? So when my family lies to my face, I notice. Miles is my son from my marriage to Kendra. We divorced when he was 5. No drama. Shared custody. I have him most weekends and 2 nights a week. He's the kind of kid who says, "Excuse me" to the dog. My sister Tara is 37, loud, charming when she needs something, and permanently in a tough spot. She had Sophie with a guy who disappeared before the baby shower. My mom turned that into a religion. Tara needs help. Family helps. When Sophie was born, my mom cornered me in her kitchen with a mug of coffee like it was a business meeting. "Doug," she said, "you're stable. You'll do the right thing." I said, "The right thing is Tara getting child support." My mom said, "Don't be that way." Then she slid an envelope across the table with a printout from a 529 plan website and a sticky note that said, "Just open it. It's for Sophie." I said no. My mom cried. Not real tears. Weapon tears. She said, "So you're punishing a baby because Tara made mistakes?" Tara came over the next day and did her own version. She sat on my couch, bounced Sophie on her knee, and said softly, "I just want her to have a chance. You always land on your feet." I don't. Then my mom said the family phrase I grew up with, "Keep things smooth." Smooth means do what Tara wants so mom doesn't have to be uncomfortable. I opened the account. I'm not proud of it, but I did it because I was tired of being the villain in my own family, and because the idea of Sophie struggling later while the adults fought now felt gross. I set it up with rules. The 529 was in my name as the account owner. Sophie was the beneficiary. Only I could move money. I funded it at $250/month, automatically. I kept the paperwork in a folder labeled Sophie 529 because my brain likes labels. For the first year, Tara thanked me. Then it became normal. Then it became expected. Then it became something I got corrected about. Incident number 1 was Thanksgiving 2021. Tara cornered me near the fridge. "You're late," she said. "Late for what?" "The transfer," she said like she was talking about rent. "Sophie's account?" I said, "It's automated." Tara rolled her eyes. "Well, can you do more? Like, a bonus? Mom said you got a raise." I said, "Mom said that." And Tara smiled. She tells me everything. I went home and checked my bank. My mom had been looking at my account balances when I helped her set up online banking the year before. I had logged in on her laptop. I had saved the password like an idiot. I changed my passwords that night. My mom called me 2 days later. "Why are you being secretive?" she asked. I said, "Because you're not entitled to my finances." She laughed and said, "Don't be so sensitive." Incident number 2 was Sophie's kindergarten registration, 2023. Tara called me at 7:06 a.m. in a panic. "I need the account statement," she said. "Why?" "For financial aid," she said. I paused. "It's a 529 in my name." "So?" She snapped. "Just send it." I said, "No, I'll send what's appropriate." She hung up on me. My mom texted me 5 minutes later. "Mom, why are you making this hard?" "Mom, Tara is stressed." "Mom, keep it smooth for once." I saved the screenshot in a folder called Family Receipts because I'm not new here. Incident number 3 was Miles's birthday last year, 2024. Sophie took his new Lego set out of the box before he could. Miles said, "Please don't." Sophie said, "My mom says I can." Tara laughed and said, "He'll live." My mom said, "Doug, don't make a scene." Miles went quiet and sat on the stairs with his Lego instructions folded like a document he didn't want anyone to see. That was the moment I noticed what my kid was learning. Not to fight back. not to ask for fairness, to shrink. I told myself it was temporary. It wasn't. The cake wasn't the first disrespect. It was just the first time Sophie said the cruel thing out loud, and my mother laughed like she'd been waiting for permission. And the wild part, after we left, I got a text from Tara at 2:38 p.m. Tara, you owe Sophie an apology. She's crying because you stormed out. Not one word about Miles. Not one word about the cake. Just, you owe. That's the pattern. Tara takes. My mom frames it as love, and if I react like a human being, I'm too sensitive. At 10:03 p.m., I logged into the 529 portal. Account number 4,729. Balance $18,420.17. I stared at the number like it was a stranger. That money was 68 months of transfers. That money was me skipping vacations. That money was me saying no to things for myself because family helps. I called the bank. The rep's name was Marisol. I remember because she said it twice and I wrote it down out of habit. She asked, "How can I help you tonight?" I said, "I need to close a 529 account. Account ending in 4,729. She paused. "Are you the account owner?" "Yes." "Okay. Any particular reason?" I looked at the hallway where my son was sleeping. I said, "I'm reallocating funds." "Understood. We can liquidate and issue a check to the account owner, or transfer to another 529. I want it closed and transferred to my checking ending 1190. She read disclosures, taxes, penalties. I told her I understood. I did. I'm an auditor. Consequences are literally my job. At 10:26 p.m., she said, "All right, Mr. Harper, the closure request is submitted. You'll receive confirmation by email." At 10:27 p.m., I received the email. Subject, account closure confirmation, 529 plan, ending 4,729. Timestamp, 10:27 p.m. MT. I saved it as a PDF. Then I did something else. I opened a new 529 for Miles, account owner, me. Beneficiary, Miles Harper, automatic transfer, $250/month, starting June 1st. I didn't feel dramatic. I felt clean, like I finally put money where love actually lived. I went to bed. At 12:11 a.m., my phone buzzed. Then again, I didn't answer. At 12:18 a.m., Tara texted, "Tara, what did you do?" "Tara, Mom said you messed with Sophie's fund." At 12:22 a.m., my mom texted, "Mom, call me now." "Mom, this is not funny." "Mom, don't punish Sophie because you're mad." I stared at the screen. My brain counted again. 3 texts. 0 apologies to Miles. I didn't respond. At 1:04 a.m., Tara called 5 times in a row. Then my mom. Then an unknown number that turned out to be my Aunt Linda. I muted my phone and went back to sleep. At 6:58 a.m., I woke up to Miles whispering, "Dad?" He was standing in my doorway in socks, holding the stuffed shark by one fin like it was a legal document. "I had a bad dream," he said. I sat up. "Come here." He crawled into bed like he was trying not to take up space. I held him and said, "You're safe. I've got you." He didn't ask about the cake. He didn't complain. He didn't cry. He just said, "Sophie doesn't like me." That sentence made my jaw ache. I said, "Sophie said something mean. That's about her, not you." He nodded like he wanted to believe me. But kids are smart. They notice who gets protected. My phone lit up on the nightstand. 94 missed calls. I stared at the number. 94. In less than 8 hours. That's not concern. That's entitlement having a tantrum. At 7:06 a.m., the pounding started. Not a polite knock. A hard, frantic banging like someone thought my door was a bank vault. Then Tara's voice shrill through the wood. "Doug! Open up! What the hell did you do?" His shoulders went tense. I put my hand on his chest. "Hey, breathe." The banging came again. "Open the door! Mom, he's ignoring me." My mom's voice joined in, lower but sharp. "Douglas, don't make me call the police." Miles whispered, Are we in trouble? I swallowed. My throat felt tight, but my voice stayed even. No, we're not. I stood, walked to the hall closet, and pulled out the folder. Family receipts. Inside were screenshots of my mom's "Don't be so sensitive" texts. Tara's "You owe Sophie an apology." The bank confirmation email from 10:27 p.m. A printed copy of the 529 plan terms, showing I was the account owner. I opened my Notes app and typed a single-line message. Then I did the thing I should have done years ago. I stopped arguing and I started documenting. I walked to the door, took a photo through the peephole, timestamp visible, and then I called my attorney. Not to get revenge, to create clarity. Because boundaries without paperwork are just wishes. My attorney is Nina Patel. I hired her during my divorce because she speaks in clean sentences and doesn't get distracted by feelings. I called at 7:14 a.m. Her office voicemail picked up, so I texted her instead. Daug. Need a cease and desist style letter. Harassment plus confirmation of account ownership. Family at my door. Kid present. Call when available. At 7:18 a.m., Tara's banging turned into kicking. You can't do this, she screamed. That money is Sophie's. My mom shouted. We all agreed. That phrase hit me like a bell. We all agreed. No, you agreed. You just assumed my compliance was the same thing as consent. I didn't open the door. I didn't yell back. I turned on the living room camera I keep for package theft and general reality. The little blue light blinked. Then I typed a group text to the family chat. Mom, Tara, Dad, Aunt Linda. One sentence. No paragraphs. Daug. Do not come to my home again. Any further contact will be through my attorney. Immediately, the chat exploded. Mom, don't threaten us. Tara, you stole from my daughter. Aunt Linda dug this as family. Mom, after everything we've done for you? Tara hit the door again. Miles flinched. That was my breaking point. Not the money, not the insults. The sound of my kid shrinking in his own house. I called the non-emergency police line. I said calm and clear. My sister and mother are outside my door, banging and screaming. My child is here? I've asked them to leave. They refuse. The dispatcher asked, Are they threatening you? I looked at the camera feed, at my mom's face twisted with anger, at Tara pacing like an animal. I said, They're escalating. I want it documented. An officer arrived at 7:39 a.m. I saw him on the camera first. He spoke to them outside. Tara pointed at my door like it was a courtroom exhibit. My mom kept gesturing like she was explaining how unfair I was. The officer knocked. I opened the door with the chain still on, just enough to speak. He said, Sir, are you okay? Yes, I said. My son is inside. I want them to leave. He looked past me for half a second and saw Miles standing in the hallway holding his stuffed shark like a shield. The officer's expression changed. Softer. Sharper. Both. He turned back to my mom and sister and said loud enough for my camera to catch, Ma'am, you need to leave. Now. Tara snapped, He stole my daughter's college money. The officer said, That's a civil matter. This is trespassing. My mom said, But I'm his mother. The officer replied, That doesn't give you the right to harass him at his home. Then he asked me if I wanted a report. I said, Yes. He took my information and gave me a case number. I wrote it down on a sticky note and stuck it inside my receipts folder. Case numbers aren't revenge, they're protection. At 8:12 a.m., Nina called me back. I put her on speaker in the kitchen while Miles ate cereal. Nina said, Doug, tell me exactly what happened. I told her, cake, comment, laugh, harassment, bank closure. She said, You were the account owner, correct? Yes. Then you didn't steal anything, she said. And we're going to make it very clear in writing that they do not contact you directly again. By 9:03 a.m., Nina emailed me a letter on firm letterhead. It was short, cold, perfect. It stated, I am the sole owner of the account. Any claim otherwise is false. Any further harassment will be pursued through legal channels. Any communication goes through counsel. I forwarded it to my mom and Tara, with no message, just the PDF. That was the irreversible step. Not because it was dramatic, because it changed the lane we were in. From family feelings to documented reality. The first quiet moment came 2 days later. Miles and I went to a small bakery on Colfax. I let him pick. He chose a cupcake with a green dinosaur topper. The baker asked, "Birthday boy?" Miles hesitated. I said, "Yeah, we're doing it again. Just us." Miles looked up at me, and for the first time since the party, he smiled like he meant it. At home, he set the cupcake on a plate like it was important. He said, "This one is nice." I said, "So were you." That night, I showed him the new account login on my laptop. Not the balance, not the money, just his name on the beneficiary line. "Miles Harper," I said. He leaned in. "That's me. That's you," I said. "And I'm taking care of you." He nodded slowly, like his body finally unclenched a little. Tara tried one last tactic on Friday. A gift bag appeared on my porch, with a card. "Sophie is sorry. Let's move on." Mom. No apology to Miles. No acknowledgement of what was said. Just a command in a polite font. I didn't bring it inside. I took a photo, time-stamped, and put it in the folder. Then, I texted Nina. "They're leaving items. Documented. My mom called from a blocked number that night." I let it go to voicemail. Her voice was sweet in that fake way that always used to pull me back in. "Douglas, you're making this bigger than it is. Sophie needs that money. Tara needs stability. Family helps." I deleted it. Then I sent one text, calm. One sentence. "DOL. I'm not available for this. Contact my attorney." After that, the noise slowed down. Not because they understood, because they realized the old buttons didn't work anymore. Now, my life is smaller in a good way. No surprise family meetings. No guilt calls at 7 a.m. Number explaining why my kid deserves basic respect. Miles still talks about the cake sometimes, but differently now. He said last week, while we were building Legos on the floor, "If someone's mean, we can leave." "Yep," I said. "We can always leave." He clicked two pieces together and said like he was making a rule for his whole life. "Even if they're family." "Especially then," I said. "Here's what I learned the hard way. Love doesn't require you to keep funding people who hurt your child. Access to me is not a family right. And if the price of keeping it smooth is my son learning to shrink, then smooth can burn. My boundary is still in place. I'm not available for that."